Hello. Hi. Welcome. I'm Sonja from Oikos, and I think we are live here in our live streaming, our next live streaming session. Let me just check that it is all going and working live. Is that so? Checking with the team there behind the cameras. Yes. All is good and live. And I've been waiting for this 3 o'clock time because it's tea time. We all know by now how important it is to have tea, and now I'm going to pour a cup of tea because I'm hoping that you're going to have your tea ready, and if not, I hope you can quickly go make yourself a cup of tea, because I would like to share some tea with you and chat to you, talk to you about the goings on here at Oikos, and also answer your questions, because of course this is about live Q&A. So this is very wonderful. It's all very exciting. So I hope you have your tea or coffee or some sort of beverage that you can enjoy, because I'm going to enjoy a cup of tea with you. And I wanted to start today's live streaming and talk to you about Oikos on the road. Now you might wonder what Oikos on the road has got to do with Q&A, but let me tell you, it's got a lot to do with Q&A. Because we went on a road trip recently, and the entire purpose of the road trip was to do Q&A sessions whereby parents came. It was so wonderful seeing all these families and all these parents that are teaching their children at home and coming to these Oikos days for us to talk to them about their home educating journey, and most specifically to answer their questions. So at the moment in post, we have got Jamie busy. You probably know James, our son, does all the media side here at Oikos. And he's busy with all the footage that he filmed at these on the Oikos on the road trip that we went on. And he's slicing it all up and separating all the questions and answers. And so how we're going to make it easy for you is there's just such a big variety of questions there. Questions such as, what about matric? Must I register my children? My child is demotivated. I'm struggling with the reading. All those kinds of questions. Questions that are not just your own. I'm sure if you think right now that you've got a question that's your own question, nobody else has got that question, you'll probably be surprised to find that there's many others out there with the same question. So I didn't finish my sentence earlier when I said we're going to make it easy for you. And that is, this is how. We're going to put on the title of the video, we're going to put what the question is. For example, must I register my children? That'll be the title of the video clip. They're not going to be in the Q&A section on the website. They will be under videos and then in the category of Oikos on the road. So that is that's where you'll find them. But wait, they're not actually there yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you know when they're there, because as we upload them, I'll put them one at a time on Facebook. Hopefully you will be able to follow and see that they're there on Facebook, which will basically be an indicator that they've been uploaded to the site. So that is what I wanted to tell you about in today's live streaming, was to say to you that there is a lot of Q&As coming. We're busy with them in post. And I'm now just going to have a quick glance here at my computer screen on the laptop here to see if there's anybody there that has any questions that they would like to ask me specifically today. And the site. Oopsie, so now my computer is actually talking back to me here, so I'm going to turn the sound off there. And as you probably know, this is, I think, our third or fourth live streaming, so I'm still getting used to how to handle responding to and also talk to you. So that's just going to take a bit of getting used to. And at the moment, I'm going to maybe have to ask for some help here, because I can't really see what I'm meant to be seeing here, I don't think. So let me rather leave that happening. If you happen to be there and you happen to be asking questions, I will come back to those questions that you are possibly asking, because I can see there's people that are out there at the moment. Thank you for joining me. It's wonderful to have you, and it's so exciting. I think this technology is amazing, that I can sit here and talk to you wherever you are in the world. I don't know where you are right now, because I'm having a little struggle figuring out how to read this here, but don't worry, I will work it out. In the meantime, I wanted to tell you some news, some Oikos news. That is, this last week has been something of a challenge. And I'm going to share it with you because I would love it if these Oikos live streaming times could be a time where I can let you know what is going on here at Oikos. And I can just share our day today with you, as well as be available to answer your questions. And I just thought maybe it would be nice if I could just tell you what's happening here at the coalface and also answer your questions. So the thing that happened this last week is our printers broke. Now, that is quite tragic because, as you know, we've got a lot of printing rights to be able to make the resources for you here at Oikos. So we've got this print house happening. It's a big operation. And if there's a breakdown, it's quite serious. And so this past week, our printers broke. And that was somewhat of a trial because we thought, now what are we going to do? How are we going to keep on making books for you and keep them on the shelves and keep getting them out to you, to your homes and into your hands and into your families so that you can use them? So what are we going to do about that? What we did is we all just put our attention and focus on this problem. And while that was happening, a mom phoned. When I say while that was happening, while we were trying to resolve this problem of our broken printers, a mom phoned and she was sharing with me how supportive Oikos is and how the resources have helped her and what a blessing they are. And she was just really full of encouragement at the time when we were actually wondering how we're going to carry on helping people, because if we can't make the books, well, what is going to happen? So we were really having to pray and just seek out from the Lord, what do you want us to do? And we really did feel as if there was a mountain in front of us. However, we know that God moves mountains and He keeps our paths level and straight. And so that is what we were trusting for. And just that phone call from that mom letting me know how important the resources have been to her family. And also even the video clips on the website, how they had encouraged her and supported her and helped her. And then she told me something. She said, and I'm also going to share something with you that I really don't mind if you share it on, because that's now why I'm going to tell you the story, because she told me that it's okay to do that. She said to me that she had a secret in her heart, some secret questions in her heart that she felt shy. Her word was shy. She said, I felt shy to tell anybody about or ask anybody or let anybody know about the questions in my heart. And she said, then she sat down with her children one day and she was using one of the Oikos resources. And she was reading scripture. It was actually a language lesson she was doing. And she was reading scripture. And the scripture that she was reading aloud out of a language book, just a standard language lesson, was really speaking to her heart. And she said it was actually answering the questions in her heart that were secret. She was ashamed of them, or ashamed might be strong. She said she was shy about them. But anyway, the secret was that she was afraid. She said she was scared she was going to let her children down. But this particular scripture that she was reading was about overcoming and how He has overcome for her. And I'm not going to be able to tell you the precise scripture reference, unfortunately, because I don't remember it exactly. And I don't recall her actually telling me the exact reference. However, this is how this conversation went. Then I went back from this phone call back into the print house where everything's broken and there's a lot of very worried looking faces and people's been so concerned about what are we going to do. It was like as if everybody had tried everything. In fact, the words were, we are stumped. We don't know what are we going to do because we can't find where this problem is. And I looked at the one man's face and I thought, he's got an idea. I could just see it on his face. So I said to him, have you got an idea what the problem might be? So he said, yes, I do have. I said, well, come on, tell us. He said, no, he says, I can't, I feel shy. I was quite amazed because this other lady had just told me on the phone that she was feeling shy about something. And the bottom of it all was that she was afraid. So now she had just spoken to me. And now this man, who's trying to help us sort this printer problem out, says he feels that he's shy. So I said, well, are you afraid? He said, yes. So I said, why? So he said, well, it might not be the answer. It might be wrong. I might be wrong. So I said to him, well, let's just try. What is there to lose? We're trying everything. We must just try. He said, but what if I'm wrong? He said, well, it doesn't matter. We've tried. And so we did try his idea of what he thought it might be. And it wasn't the solution, actually. It didn't solve the problem. But you know what happened? It motivated everybody to keep trying. And it led from that to the next, to the next, to the next. And all of a sudden, there was energy behind the problem again, and not the sense of just complete being demoralized. We sunk. What are we going to do? We just are stumped. We don't know, what are we going to do? It was just, that's where everybody had got to. And now, because we had decided to press on and overcome and not be trapped in our fear and not be trapped in dismay and being demoralized, we just said, we will not let this take us down. We will not allow this calamity or this massive problem, it really was quite huge, to just stop us, because it really did. It actually did stop us in our tracks. And we said, no, we're not going to let it stop us in our tracks. We are going to press on. And we need the Lord's help. And with that, the lady phoned. And then with that, she told me she's shy about her secret of being afraid. And then, as I've just shared, all that followed from that. The good news is our printer's working. The good news is an insurmountable problem, an unresolvable problem, one that nobody seems to be able to support, not even Japan, Germany. Really, we were turning every stone. We were going to everywhere we could to try and resolve this problem. And it wasn't resolved until all of a sudden, 2 days ago, after just literally persevering and persevering and persevering, we now have our printers working. So now it's catch-up time. So now we're just printing, and we're just so excited because now it's working again and we can continue to make the books and to help you and to serve you. And so I'll come full circle back to the questions and answers and say to you that is why I started with the Oikos on the road, because of the fact that very many of these kinds of questions about fear and things that are actually keeping people trapped or ensnared in areas where they're not getting the fruit and the strength and the encouragement and the energy that they need to continue in this walk. They're trapped in their fear. And when we just push past that, like the man that was afraid to say his idea in case it wouldn't work, we push past that, we just do it regardless of whether it's going to work or not. Then we start seeing the fruit of that. The energy comes back. That's something that happened in our little print room situation. In fact, I'm not even looking over here because I'm so busy telling you all these stories, but I will, don't worry, if you are asking questions, I'm not ignoring you. I will come back to them when I've worked out how to do that. But I just want to tell you a little story. When we were in the print room and we were all feeling somewhat demoralized, because it does happen, we were printing the new blue student book. Now, the new blue student book has got color in it, and the previous student book didn't have color in it. So we were busy trying to get the color right, trying to get this printer to work, and it wasn't. It could be quite a stressful and pressured situation until I was flipping through the blue book that we had tried to print, and there were blue lines where they shouldn't be and all kinds of things. And I saw this little poem. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair. Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't fuzzy Wuzzy. So I read that little poem, and so now we were all reciting this little poem, and we turned what could have been a moment of complete demoralization into something fun. And you know where we got the fun from? We got the fun from the Blue Book. Now this is a print room only with adults in it, and here I was reading out a poem that I remembered from a long time ago when my own children were that age, and we were doing Blue Book and teaching them to read, and we read this little poem and we all memorized it, and so it came back to me very quickly. And now I was teaching the men in the print room who were trying to help with the broken printers this silly little poem, and so we could have a good laugh. So telling you that story to say that if you or your child has got fear and you feel stuck in your fear, have some fun, do something that you can do. I mean, we couldn't fix this printer. None of us could. We were all trying, but we could have fun with the poem. That we could do. And we could just keep pushing on until we found the resolve for the printer. So those are some of my little Oikos news stories for you. But now I'm going to come and have a look here. And I'm going to see It's working now, by the way, ladies. It might be some men, I'm not sure, but let's see. Here we have a question. I'm just going to read a couple of these quickly, catch up a bit, so don't leave me. I'm going to have a couple of sips of tea, and I'm going to read some of your questions, and then I'll answer. Oh, this lady is asking if she can ask any question. Of course, you can ask any question you like. It does not matter to me what question. You can ask a personal question if you want to. I don't mind. That is what I'm here for. I'm here to answer your questions no matter what they are. But this particular question is about using the Oikos resources, but wanting to end with Cambridge. Well, how I can answer that question is to say, so many have done that. Many have done that. But I just would like to bring another aspect to that. And please check where you are headed with where the student is headed. Because I've heard some incredible stories of this last week. I think 3 days ago, a mom told me that she had put her student through a particular course because she was told that that's what the courses that she needed for the student to get into the college or university they wanted to. And when they got there, they said, oh no, sorry, that doesn't work anymore. We don't accept that. That qualification isn't accepted anymore. Well, she phoned us and she said, well, what am I going to do? Because we went down that path because that's what we were told to do. And I said to wait. Let me just rewind a little bit. Did you go down that path because man told you to do that? Did you check with God? You need to do that, really, because you could be headed down a path. What had happened with her, she spent a huge amount of money and a lot of stress and difficulties getting these exams, whatever it was, or this qualification done that she had been told was required. She had been told. And off she went, and they did that, her and her eldest. And they went through everything they needed to do, jumped through every hoop they needed to, and they got to the college and they were informed. Sorry, but we don't accept it anymore. Another sad story. I heard, I don't know if it is 2 or 3, let's say 2 testimonies last week of students that are in either 2nd or 3rd year college, and what they entered into college or university with, they are now being told that that particular qualification isn't acceptable anymore for whatever reason. So there's 2 ways they can respond to that. It's like panic and, oh, now what am I going to do? Or they can just trust that this is where they're meant to be. This is the direction they were led in by the Lord. They feel confident about that, and they're going to press on, and they're going to see what is required of them. If that's not acceptable anymore, the qualification that they presented when they entered that particular tertiary institution, well, what are they going to do? What does a tertiary institution require of them now? And just keep calm about it and do whatever the steps are that need to be done. But all the time, please check with the Lord. Please check that you're not heading down a road that you have heard is the one to do. Because you might be hearing from man, and we can't be sure about what man is going to be presenting next, and the goalposts are shifting left, right, and center. And yeah, I'm just saying it to answer that question categorically is yes. Many students have gone from Oikos into doing their final year certification with Cambridge, and have been amazed and surprised at how capable they were, how able they were, how equipped, prepared they were to do that. Somebody else is asking about GED. Okay, well now this is one thing about live that can be a little bit difficult for me, because you might ask me questions that I can't answer, because you know what, I don't know what is contained in the GED certificates or exams or requirements at the moment, because we don't actually keep abreast all the time with all the different school leaving certificate courses, the different directions you can go. There's so many to offer, and we can't keep abreast with it all. What we do at Oikos is we provide families and students with resources, education level of quality, and just extremely high level. We know that because we know when they finish their Oikos resources and they enter into university or college, professors and the like say, wow, how were you educated? This is incredible, because they are so well equipped. So some are just going straight exiting from Oikos, and they're going into doing an entrance exam, or they're doing some kind of examination to be qualified, to get the qualification that that particular institution requires. Others are going in with a portfolio saying, I was home educated and here's my portfolio. There's a lot of different ways to approach that, and different requirements, actually, depending on whether the student is going into technical college or university or online university, whichever it might be. I know online university, they need your credit card number, so you can register that and pay for the course, and then they're happy with that. Seriously, we've experienced that firsthand. That's how it is for doing some tertiary courses or diplomas or degrees or whichever. So in actual fact, if you want more on this topic, we have done a certificate course on Oikos. It's under videos and courses on the Oikos website, where there's, I'm not sure, I think it's 6 or 7 videos, and we talk about the certificate, the topic of certification and qualification. And we have specifically done a course on that, just to explain how things are here at Oikos and what we offer and why we offer what we do, and why we can't or don't get caught up in all the different ways, different forms of education and certification and qualification. We just do what God has given us to do here at Oikos, and that's what we offer. Right, here's another one. The thoughts, this lady's asking thoughts about fictional and non-fictional and mystery books. That's a touchy topic. There's so many different views on that one. From an Oikos heart point of view, what we say about the fictional and non-fictional or mystery books is, okay, so now I'm going to be real, because you asked this question, and I'll say it's a touchy one, because one of our children is very, very factual, and things have to be what they are. And so if you try to read her a storybook that was not that, it wasn't accepted. That can't possibly be. Dolls can't talk, or animals can't talk, and so it wasn't acceptable to her. So I had to actually help her to see that this is just a little mystery book. It's not for real. The only thing that's really for real, the truth, always the truth, that gives life, is the Word of God. Now, this is a story, and God would like us to use our imagination, and He would like us to be creative and think creatively. So I had to really help her on that. And then there's another child in the family that had an imagination that was beyond what I could even keep up with. So I thought that I had an imagination and was creative, but my goodness, we had to be very careful what we fed that particular little person. Because if he read a story or even watched a movie of something that would be, let me think of an example. One's not coming to mind. But basically what I want to say is, what he read and what he saw, he would then become, whatever it was. If it was about a teddy bear, he would do teddy bear impersonations afterwards. He'd even call himself the name of the teddy bear. So we had to be careful to guide him back onto the middle road and not let him get lost in the world of mystery, because we had to bring him back to the Word. And it's okay. You can have an imagination. God wants you to, but we must be careful with how we direct that. So you see, I'm saying to you that I'm just going to tell it to you as it is, but I'm not going to pass a direct opinion on that and say it's good, it's bad, because as I'm saying, as I've shared, we've had to keep the balance. I think that's an example of God. He wants things to be in balance, kept in balance. So maybe I can summarize that question, the answer to that question, with just be careful and keep it in balance and check with God. Because there are some books out there that I would be cautious of saying that they're okay with God, that they are read by young children, fantasy books or something that could actually maybe not be what God would like them to be feeding their minds and hearts and spirits with, because maybe it's going to confuse them. So you see, this question again actually would be depend dependent on the child, the kind of child, and the age, and what they can cope with. So I hope that's answered your question in part. Oh, this next question here that I'm reading from Tracy. Hello, Tracy. I remember you being with us on a previous live streaming. I don't know how long you've been there. I'm sorry if people are waiting a while for me to eventually get to their questions. But this lady is asking about how to encourage her child to read. She's battling with some of the words and sounds, and she doesn't like writing. It's a very strong word there. She hates writing, any types of writing. Tracy, somebody asked me this question on the road trip. Not somebody, a few people asked me this question. It seems to be not an uncommon thing for parents to find their children struggling with reading and wanting to know what to do about it. Well, my answer is not going to be very academic, I don't think, or based in any of all the theories or, I don't know, formulas, whatever, to fix children who can't read, because this is what my answer is going to be, is that you read to your child and you love reading. You be an example of someone who loves to read. Because if you sit and do a read aloud book with your 9-year-old and you get a book that she really loves and you read it to her while she sits and does some handwork and you are excited about that book, I'm going to ask you to let me know if your daughter is going to say to you, I don't want you to read aloud to me, I don't like you reading aloud to me, or she's maybe going to say she doesn't like read aloud. Because you know what? I haven't found a family yet that can tell me that. If this one mom that phoned a couple of days ago that would tell me about her secrets in her heart, she said to me that her children, the most wonderful memories that her children have of being home educated is read aloud. That was their favorite time. There's something in that. There's a lot in that. If you don't require your child to read to you and you just start reading to her and you bring read aloud into your home very intentionally, if you tell me that your child doesn't like that, it's going to be the first time I hear of a report of somebody telling me their child doesn't like being read aloud to. Now that is where I'm going to suggest you start, Tracy. I'm going to suggest you start with that. Getting excited about reading aloud, making a special read aloud time, and then see how it goes from there. Because what I did, we had a child that really struggled to read. So what I did is I read to her, and then she would try and read back to me if I saw she was struggling. We wouldn't pursue it because I could see it was a struggle. I did not want reading to become something that she hated doing. Like I'd hesitate to use that word hate because I find it's a very strong word. You might find that your daughter will come to love reading if she experiences you loving reading. I'm remembering now that I covered this topic when we were on the road trip. And so when it's uploaded, you maybe can go and watch that again. It's going to have the title of something, how do I encourage my children to read, or how do I motivate my children to read? It'll have that kind of title, and you can maybe watch it then. Fuzzy Wuzzy. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair. Oh my goodness. Tia says that her parents taught her the Fuzzy Wuzzy poem 50 years ago. Still going strong. Oops. Now I clicked on something. Okay. This question about the Afrikaans families that have difficulty. Should I teach my children English and use the awesome resources, or should I try and use the Afrikaans resources? What must I do? I actually think that the Afrikaans families are at an advantage because we're not Afrikaans. And we never taught our children Afrikaans because I couldn't speak Afrikaans. And I didn't have an Afrikaans curriculum. So I couldn't teach my English-speaking children, home language English, Afrikaans. But an Afrikaans family teaches their children English. And so their children are raised with two languages like automatically. It just happens because that's how it is. And so I see it as they have an advantage. And yes, it's true that there's such a massive variety of literature, resources, all in English. Like I'm thinking about the science books and how they're all in English because they're written by Dr. Jane. He's an American, and so he speaks English. I'm sure he doesn't speak Afrikaans or knows how to speak Afrikaans. So let me tell you a little bit more about that. What I can say is, I don't want to go into it, but what I can just tell you briefly is we have tried to translate a number of the Oikos resources into Afrikaans. We have literally spent 5 years on those projects, and for a number of variety of reasons, it hasn't worked out to be something that has been possible, that has has resulted in an actual product that is an Afrikaans resource. We've tried to have Afrikaans readers. We've had them for a while. I think we're right at the end of the line of those for novels and faith-building books and stories for parents to read, Afrikaans literature. The end of the day, I'm sorry to say that it isn't something we've been able to find that we can provide you with, the Afrikaans families. But as much as I'm saying I'm sorry about that, I'm also seeing the huge advantage that the Afrikaans families are at. That's how I see it. That's how I've experienced it, because I see Afrikaans children that are fluent in their home language is Afrikaans. But they're fluent in both languages. They speak English to me in a way that I could never speak Afrikaans to them. So I just feel that they really are at an advantage. And then the other aspect to this is that your children, when they go into the adult world, somebody did a little survey and found out what would be the best language to teach my children, the most universal language to teach my children, considering them in the adult world when it comes to universities or tertiary studies or the workplace or anything. What is the best language I can teach them? And the survey that they did resulted in English being the most universal language, and then the second language was, I don't think I can say because I'm not certain, it was Spanish or Portuguese. Spanish, I think. I thought, well, that's interesting. And it was something to do with Spanish was linked with a whole lot of other languages. So if a person learned Spanish, they would quickly be able to pick up French and Italian. Is that right, Jamie? I think. Okay, so wait a minute. I'm now not speaking facts. I'm speaking what I'm recalling somebody having said. So that's a bit dangerous, right? Okay, so I'm just saying that it seems to me that the Afrikaans families have an advantage. I don't know if that's actually helping you answer your question in a way that you need it answered. But the other part of that question that came up on our road trip again was, do I teach them to read Afrikaans first or English first? If they're an Afrikaans if your home language is Afrikaans, do you teach your children to speak Afrikaans first? Read Afrikaans first or English first? Well, that is, again, there is such a variety of approaches to that. In the fact that some Afrikaans families say that their home language is Afrikaans, they speak Afrikaans, the children need to know how to communicate in Afrikaans, they don't necessarily need to be fluent in reading Afrikaans. So I'm going to teach them to read in English, because that's what all their resources are going to be, and that's what they're going to have to be equipped in, and they're just happy with it. Other Afrikaans families say, no, it's our home language, they must learn to read Afrikaans first, and when they're established in that, we can add the second language as in teaching them to read in English. And that's what works for them. So you see, I think that you need to check with the Lord, and He will give you peace about which one to go with. Spend some time with asking Him. He wants you to call out to Him. So if you call out to Him and just ask Him, is it English or is it Afrikaans? Which language do I teach my children to read? Because how do you know when your child is 5 if God doesn't need their second language to be Mandarin? You know, that might be laid on your heart, and you might start teaching your children Mandarin, and you might start teaching them to read Mandarin, because maybe God is taking you to China or when they are 15 and 18 years old, something. I don't know. God knows. So that's why I say, check with Him and find out from Him what His answer is on every detail. English or Afrikaans first. What school leaving exit route do we go with? Don't just go with the flow. Don't go with what man says. Check with Him, because He has the answer. Now, excuse me, I'm just going to look here again and catch up on a few of these questions. Thank you, Marty, for that compliment. Appreciate that. Oh, this lady is saying that her son didn't like read aloud. But then, as he got older, he loves it. Since we started with progressive phonics, he loves the idea of reading together. Oh, that is good. Phew. For a moment, I thought, oh, there's going to be a first testimony of a child that doesn't like being read aloud too. There was obviously something there that your son was needing a different kind of read aloud book. I don't know. I can't analyze that. But I'm just very relieved and pleased to hear that he now loves it. That is good news. I'm now running through these questions again. Are these? Can everybody see these questions? I wonder. Oh, Jamie's going to use that. Okay. Other people can see these questions. I hope I get better at this and being able to chat to you. I'm not sure how long we've been going here. Trying to see that too, because I was. Jamie's indicating behind the camera there that it's 30 minutes. I was told that 20 minutes is the ideal time to do live streaming. But I'm not going to run away just because that's the time, 20 minutes. I will stay here and I will answer any further questions that anybody has. And while I'm seeing if there's anybody else that's got any question before we wrap up this particular live streaming session, I want to point out a couple of things here, because Marty mentioned about the setting, said something about the setting, as you would have read there. I want to talk to you a little bit about the setting. You see, we've got a zebra theme. For those of you who don't know, we have our little Zach here. His name's Zach, and he goes everywhere with us because he's our little mascot, I suppose you could call him that, because he's black and white. Well, it's also that we live in a nature reserve and we have a lot of zebras around us, so that comes into it too. But Zach here reminds us to be people of no compromise, black and white. Don't get into the grey zone. So it's a constant reminder for us to remember that. So you will see Zach visiting us on our set. And also, just hang on. All right, there seemed to be a pause. In the live streaming, it suddenly stopped. So here we are back again. Fortunately, Jamie's keeping an eye on those things. And I was talking about Zach. I don't know if we finished talking about Zach. I was just saying that Zach is our little mascot. He is our reminder of no compromise, black and white. Don't get into the grey zone because it's not a comfortable place. You get stuck in the mud there. The other thing I wanted to tell you about our set is this up on the wall, because Tia, I saw, was on us earlier, was here on live stream with us. Hello, Tia, in a wintry Ohio in America. And here we are in sunny South Africa. But I don't know if you remember, Tia, but we bought that together in America. Cherish Life Simple Pleasures. I've got that one, and I've got another one that's called Count Your Blessings. And that one I gave to my mother because she told me just about every day of my life to count my blessings. So I liked to hang that there to remind us at these live streaming sessions to cherish life's simple pleasures and treasures. Just treasure them. Keep it simple. Don't complicate it. If actually our live streaming here is the Q&As that we do here is to keep reminding you to keep it simple, well, then it would have been worth it. And behind me over here is another zebra picture, and that one is thanks to Julia. Julia is a friend of mine who is the most amazing artist, and she did that for me. So I'm very grateful that we've got our zebras happening here as a constant reminder. It seems strange, what has zebras got to do with home education? But they are very much a part of our life, especially that they help us keep our grass short because they munch on it. But I'm wanting also in these live streaming sessions to actually just talk to you about our daily living and our Oikos news, as you heard earlier, our Oikos news about our broken printers, which are working again. So don't worry about that. Remember, the word said, do not worry. We must not worry, because then we fall into one of those snares, and there's not good fruit from that. So I hope that this has been here's somebody just popped on. I got distracted there, so I didn't finish my sentence. I was going to say, I hope that this has been supportive, and I hope that we're going to have more live streaming times together. It's actually very, very exciting to me, because I remembered when we went on the road trip how amazingly wonderful it was to meet with people that are actually walking this journey of keeping their children at home and teaching their children at home, and just seeking ways to do that as effectively as possible. I think it's just fantastic, and I just would love to support it as much as I possibly can help. I would like to. So back to the Oikos news. I would like to, at our Q&A live streaming, also just talk about what's current with the Oikos news. The current news of last week was broken printers. They are now fixed printers, and so we are back in the print house, printing and making books. All the new LATAL, upgraded LATAL books are being published at Oikos operations at our base here in KwaZulu-Natal Midlands. So I think for now we have been going live for about half an hour or maybe just more. And so I'm going to close this off. I think there's still some people there. I don't really like to go away when there's people there, but I suppose tea time comes to an end eventually. Oh, wait, before I go, I want to read this to you, especially put it here to read to you. It says, I'm more than happy. I'm joyful. I'm more than healthy. I am whole. I am more than alive. I'm radiant. I'm more than successful. I'm free. I'm more than caring. I'm loving. I'm more than tranquil. I'm peaceful. I'm more than interested. I'm involved. Must be involved in your children's lives. I'm more than adequate. I'm triumphant. And I'm more than fortunate because I am prosperous. And I'm more than human because I'm a child of God. That is an amazing little poem. Our daughter Missy put it all nicely here. I wonder if it's coming up nicely there on the camera. Let me put it like that. Maybe I can hold it here for a little bit. While you're reading that again, because I think it's worth reading again, I'm going to read some questions here. Margot is talking about her son, and she's wondering where the line is in between keeping them happy and making him work because he needs to learn to read. That's a good point. Where is that line? I think I'm going to put this down now. Have a quick sip of tea. It's very needed. I don't mind warm tea. Tea's tea for me. That is a fine line, as you say, where to push. Oh, hang on. I'll be back. Is it dropped connection? I was being indicated there from James behind the camera that we lost connection for a minute. So I'm just going to come back to Margot and say to you, that's a very good point. Where is the line and where do you push and where don't you? I'm going to answer that question in the way that I have found with my own personal experience, that when you are pushing someone to do something, it's not very comfortable for you or for them. If you're having to push. I used to use the illustration of a wheelbarrow, but I won't go into all of that. But I think the key is this, what I was reading just now. I'm more than interested, I'm involved. If you get involved and you realize that there's something amiss here, he's not enjoying reading, it's not something that he just takes to. Do you know what? It might be that for the rest of his life, he might just not be an avid reader. He might not be a strong reader. I have a number of brothers, and my one brother just didn't read. I read to him. So I think if we get away from the detail of reading and we speak more about how to overcome a situation whereby you have a specific difficulty with one of your children, the way I know what has worked in our lives to deal with that is to get to the source of the problem. Now, the source of the problem could be like in one of our children's situations where it was a real physical difficulty, an extreme physical difficulty to do certain things. We have a son that had brittle bones. So, of course, if he's in a cast when he's had a broken bone after a broken bone, there's certain things I'm not going to require of him. It'll be difficult for him to run around the garden, obviously. So what I have to do is I have to get to the bottom of where I can support and help that person the most, come alongside them. So if you've got, I'm coming back to the question about when to push and when not. I actually think it's not. I don't like the idea of putting pushing and learning in the same sentence, because there are a lot of difficulties in life and you need to learn to persevere, like I shared the testimony of our broken printers earlier, and how you need to persevere, and you need to teach your children the characteristic of perseverance and how to do things you don't necessarily want to do. For example, I don't know how many people like washing dishes, but my mother put a poem up at our sink. That was a poem we had to sing and say and speak about being blessed, counting our blessings for all the many dishes that there are to wash, because that means we are well fed. And so it turned our washing dishes time into a singing or being thankful time. And so it might be, Margot, that your son is having character, he needs some support with his character development, helping him in an area where he's really put off by a particular thing because it's difficult for him. So you take your focus off the thing and you get to what the real issue is, and that is when he's put off by something that's difficult, he doesn't want to do it. You know, if it's difficult, I don't want to do it. Now, if you can focus on training the character as in how do we overcome when we're facing something we don't want to do. So, and then help him in that. And be yourself an example in that. You think of a way that you can be an example in that. Say, this is something I don't particularly enjoy doing, but this is how I overcome when I need to go and do it. Whatever that might be. I get tired of thinking every night what to make for dinner, for example. It's something that wears me out. Well, if that's happening, change that. Don't get worn out about it. Think about, maybe it'll help me for a while just to have a week's plan and put down what we're doing each night of the week. On Monday night, it's going to be fish. And on Tuesday night, we're going to do spaghetti. And on Wednesday night, and just do that, just to get into breaking the difficulty of it's wearing you out, having to always think about it. Make a plan. So that's just now a tiny little example. I'm trying to think of you, Margot, as something that can relate to you as a woman, something that you might find difficult, and then you can show your son how you overcome that difficulty. You can give him little keys as to how to press on and press through when he faces things that are either difficult for him, genuinely difficult. It's just not a strength of his. Now, that was a bit of a break in my conversation because Jamie showed me that we had lost signal again. It seems that our signal is dropping and dropping. So I think we're going to have to end this particular live streaming. Margot, I do hope that this was helpful and that you will be able to encourage your son in overcoming his difficulty from a character point of view more than the actual problem itself. And I think that is going to be, wait. I'm a little distracted here. I'm going to have to learn to do this because there's all sorts of things bouncing around and hopping around and I don't know what that means. So just thank you, ladies, for being there today with me. I've so enjoyed having this time with you and being able to, I hope, answer some of your questions and support you. I hope you'll be at the next live stream. I can't tell you when it is because it's dependent on whether we need to be in print rooms fixing printers or whether there's a storm or whether we have to dash into town. You know how it is. So I'm not sure when our next live streaming is going to be. We're going to get familiar with it and then hopefully set a more sort of routine type of time frame which we hope to be able to keep in place as best we can. But for now, I'm just so excited and happy that you could be there on this day. It's a public holiday here in South Africa. Those of you who are beyond the South African borders, thank you also for joining us here today in sunny South Africa. And I look forward to our next live session. Thank you for being here. Bye for now. See you soon.